Hello there, I'm the Common Sense Guy. I'm not going to be doing my normal intro, we're going to be getting straight into this and going to see what actually has happened. For people that are not aware, there has been a probable terror attack that has happened in the UK again. This time again, it's been at the Houses of Parliament. Though there are people injured, it does not seem that people are injured in a life-threatening way. So you got to count your blessings on that one. It does seem that it was another car that was trying to drive into the Houses of Parliament or get as close as possible for whatever reason. Luckily enough, it seems that the barriers themselves have been able to get everything sorted and stop this in its tracks. So thankful for that. Without further ado, let's actually get into this actual story and let's try and report it as non-partisan as possible. So with that being said, let's just transition over, shall we? So as you can see, the title at the top there says, "A man arrested after car crash outside of Parliament." Armed police arrest a man outside Parliament after a car crashed into security barriers, injuring a number of pedestrians. I'm not going to show you the video, I don't want to. So, at this moment in time, 2 people have been injured and a man has been arrested after a car crashed into security barriers outside Parliament. Silver car crashed into security barriers in Westminster at 7:37 a.m, prompting a huge response from the armed police. It is being investigated by counter-terrorist officers. The driver, wearing a white shirt and a black hooded puffer jacket, was detained at the scene. The black man was led backwards away from the silver Ford after the police held him at the scene for a few moments. And here's a picture of him. And I will play the actual video for this, so hopefully you can actually hear this and actually can see what's going on. So that was the video. Not a very long video, admittedly, but it shows you that they have arrested the actual man that they have suggested they've arrested. This time it's not a false person that they've arrested, or the name of the person hasn't been given out yet. I'm sure that it will do. The London ambulance confirmed that they treated 2 people at the scene and took them to hospital. Their injuries are not believed to be serious. In a statement, Scotland Yard said at 7:37 today, the car was in collision with the barriers outside the Houses of Parliament. The male driver of the car was detained by officers at the scene. A number of pedestrians had been injured. Officers remain at the scene. We will issue further information when we have it. Just a little bit of an opinion on this. This is opinion. This is not to do with the actual story. I find it very telling that it's taken this long for the police to call this a terrorist attack, or even to this point now, in actual fact, in actual reality, they haven't quite said it is a terrorist attack. They're having the counter-terrorist police or counter-terrorism police actually investigate it. So to me, that kind of seems that they think that it's going to be terror-related. Now, I can't see in myself why somebody would go down to the Houses of Parliament, drive a car and try and get it as close as possible, and luckily, depending on your view, actually crash and actually get stopped. I think that's very good in itself. I think it's very good that the barriers are actually put there, that actually stopped it. But at the same time, we shouldn't be having to deal with people that are plotting. And look, I'm not going to go into terrorist ideology. I'm not going to go into that sort of thing. Look, I honestly feel that this is probably to do with one ideology or religion that has to do with this terrorism. But until the actual information comes out, I cannot confirm, and I'm not going to deny it either, but I'm not going to confirm it. I'm not going to be that person that comes out and says, yes, this is Muslim related, or this is Islamically related. I'm not going to be that person. I would heavily suggest it. I'm about 80% sure it is. But 80% sure doesn't mean you're sure, so I'm not going to report on it until it's actually correct and it's stated. But as an opinion, I would say that this is to do with a particular ideology. What else would drive you literally, into driving up to the Houses of Parliament and at speed and hurting people. With that being said, let's carry on with the story. So at 8:40, they've added, at this stage, officers do not believe that anybody is in a life-threatening condition. Cordons are in place to assist the investigation. Westminster Tube Station is closed. A later update added, while we are keeping an open mind, the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command is leading the investigation into the Westminster incident, which I know that it's modern day, and I know that it's a case of hashtagging so you can find it, but it seems really repugnant for me to see the fact that luckily nobody's obviously died in this incident so far, and it doesn't look like they are going to, but it already has a hashtag. That seems so repugnant to me. The fact that this could have been so much more worse than what it is, and it's already got a hashtag. I know that it's for people to be able to find out what's going on and easily find out on social media, but come on. Reports suggest people are being held inside Westminster Station at police request. According to Vincent McAveney, the police radio reported the incident would be treated as a counter-terror. I don't see how it cannot be treated as a terror plot, as again, that doesn't mean that it's a Muslim-related terror plot. As I said before, though, I do think it's around 80% chance that it probably is. But until it's actually done and it's reported on, it's just a terror plot. I don't think that anybody can deny that this is a terror attack. Luckily enough, the plan for him, the terrorist, obviously has gone horribly wrong, and thank God it did. And thank God that his aim wasn't that great when he was trying to run pedestrians over. But that's the point. It still needs to be actually reported as a terrorist attack. So carrying on. I'm going to really butcher this name, so please, everybody that is looking at the way that I speak, for instance, please don't judge me. Iwalina Okhabab, sorry, told the police association, I think it looked intentional. The car drove at speed and towards the barriers. She said, I was walking on the other side of the road. I heard some noise and someone screamed. I turned around and I saw a silver car driving very fast, close to the rails, maybe even on the pavement. The person driving did not go out of the car, she added. It's the police actually jumping over, armed police, actually jumping over and actually arresting this person to begin with. Watch this and tell me if you do not think that they are going to be treating this as a terror-related incident, please. And if you do think that, please explain why. So as you can see on that point, it's a case of the police are jumping the barriers, and yes, they did have guns. They also had assault rifles, so to speak, and they also have handguns, hence why they were pointing guns at them. But that's besides the point. The point is the fact that they were treating this as a terror-related incident to begin with. So let's go back to the actual story and how it's been written. According to a witness report, cyclists have been seen lying in the road after the crash. And thank God that nobody was actually seriously injured. I'm assuming that there are a lot of people with minor injuries or even major injuries, but no life-threatening injuries. As much as I would say that that's really bad for the minor and major, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. So you have to be grateful and thankful for some of these things. But at the same time, it should never have happened in the first place. So streets around Parliament Square, Millbank and Victoria Town Gardens have been cordoned off, with the cordon moving further away from the scene. Sky's political reporter, Aubrey Agaretti, said he has been told the area around Millbank's offices have been sanitised. There are dozens of armed police and 10 cars on the scene, and the police sniffer dogs have been used. So I think it's very, very obvious that it's a case of it's a terrorist attack. Again, I'm not going to say that it's definitely an Islamic terrorist attack, but it's definitely, in my opinion, a terrorist attack. As you can see, you've got armed police all the way around. He's got his handgun, he's got his hand taser. I don't know what he's going to do with the taser, but he's got his handgun in his pouch there. You've got a couple of people that are talking to other people in the background. It's a scary time. It's a scary time to be alive, to be fair. And this is our capital city that has now had, 3-4 terrorist attacks in the last year and a half? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And that's the idea of multiculturalism, is it? And yes, this is my own take and my opinion on what's going on. The fact of being able to draw so many people that have similar ideologies or hardline ideologies, these are the people that are committing these terrorist attacks. And yes, I am assuming that this is an Islamic terrorist attack. The reason why I'm assuming is because it is most likely to be an Islamic terrorist attack. But we shall see. Hopefully I am proved wrong, and this is a terrorist attack of a degree, and we have to find out what's going on and understand what their ideology is. The reason why I say hopefully is simply because that if it is Islamic terror, it means anything and everything that has been put in place to actually stop these terrorists, bar the actual barriers themselves, have fallen at the wayside. Which means that us as citizens are going to lose more and more of our civil liberties and our civil rights than ever before. Because now it's going to be a case of everybody's going to be so up in arms that this is able to happen, that any sort of legislation that passes to stop these terrorists from being active and have active cells in our country is going to be widely appreciated by people like myself, because I'd want safety. But if you trust the government to give you safety, and you trust the police to give you safety, then sometimes it's a case of you ain't safe. You're losing all of your civil liberties and your freedoms for the fact of being safe. Yes, I understand that it was a bit of a rant. I understand there was a bit of a process there. But I do honestly think that we will end up losing more civil liberties for this case. I guarantee it. This is the reason why I think that the terrorist attack may not necessarily be an Islamic one, but there's no telling. The intelligence, I'll be blunt, the intelligence of the actual terrorist and actually of the planning of it, they may not have realised that we're actually in a summer recess. So let me continue. Parliament is in summer recess, and so there are fewer politicians working in London. But there are numerous other people working nearby, including political journalists. MI5's headquarters is also nearby. One man who witnessed the crash told Sky News it was very, very dramatic. Yes, it would be dramatic. You see a car speeding down in a 30 or a 20 outside Parliament and going towards Parliament at a very high speed. Of course it's going to be dramatic. And then you hear a massive crash, probably a car horn going off or whatever when a person's been laying against it. I'm sure it was very, very dramatic, especially with people strewn around everywhere, apparently. He added, "I seen smoke coming out of the vehicle. It's all been high speed. You've got the specialists coming in. It's been dramatic." Yeah, well, of course it would be. You've also got the police and everything else driving in with the sirens, with their handguns, with their rifles and everything else like that coming in to stop the terrorist. So yes, it would be dramatic. It would be like a scene out of a movie. The bus driver Victoria told Sky News, "I stopped the bus because of the crash and the police told us to move back. I think it's not a regular traffic accident because there's a barrier there, so I don't know why someone would drive into the barrier." I suppose that there could be a story of him having some sort of form of ailment that has forced him to put his foot down and drive on the pavement and aim for the Parliament to try and be able to squeeze through certain holes to be able to attack Parliament. I'm sure they'll find some form of either mental or physical ailment that's going to suggest the reasons why this happened. "I saw someone was arrested, but I couldn't see him closely. He was taken away very quickly. And obviously we know who that person is. Well, we don't know who the person's name is, but we have seen a picture of that person. Sky's policing analyst, Graham Wheaton, said police would be looking at the scene once it was sealed off and would be assessing the route in the car would have taken. He said they would go immediately to a counter-terror cordon, and that enables the officers to work comfortably and quickly. The officers will be looking at the actual scene itself. Well, you would like to think so, wouldn't they? The route the vehicle came in and trying to establish who is behind it and the reason why. And if there is any support network helping this individual, or if it's just literally someone who has had a road traffic collision. You see how that's already kind of been suggested, even though you have eyewitnesses saying, no, that's not the case. But that's just mainstream media at this moment in time. We cannot confirm nor deny. I suppose I can put myself into that category because I cannot confirm or deny that this is an Islamic terrorist organisation or a terrorist attack. What I can guarantee you, and I can guarantee you this, that it is terror related. Now, this doesn't mean itself that I believe that it is Islamic. No, again, I am around about 80% sure. In fact, probably around about 85, if I'm honest. But let's carry on. That vehicle is likely to remain in place. They want to make sure it's got nothing in that it's suspicious before they go in and examine it. In other words, trying to see if it has a payload of bombs on it beforehand, before they actually start tearing it apart, so to speak, or moving it. Any incident like this, we've got so many other important venues and location. There will be increasing visibility and security patrols just to make sure nothing else happens. Those vehicles in trance points are the most vulnerable of Parliament and armed officers. They are probably the most highly trained, and they will only use their firearms if there is a threat to life, like a terrorist attack them. So Chris Phillips, former head of the National Counter-Terrorism Office, it looks a bit like a copycat incident, but maybe it's someone who has just fallen asleep at the wheel. We don't know as yet, and that's what officers are trying to ascertain. As I said, it looks like they're trying to say that the person himself actually fell asleep. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. It's too practiced. It's too deliberate. The fact is that even if you were asleep, you wouldn't be able to drive along on a straight road, well, on a bendy-ish road, on the pavement or as close to the railings as possible, and then somehow manage to turn in. Remember if you looked at the picture, you had to actually turn in. That's not an easy turn to be able to make. That's quite a hard turn, especially if you're going at speed and right along the railings or right on the pavement even. That's very hard to be able to pull into and not hit what was going on. So that person would have to be not necessarily a skilled driver, but one driver that's actually fucking awake. You wouldn't be able to do that while you're asleep. The officers need to make sure that vehicle is safe. The key point is the location. If this has happened anywhere else in London, we wouldn't have had this response. The area the car has gone down, that is an attempt to get into the Palace of Westminster, or the Houses of Parliament for anybody else out there, to our seat of government. So in one breath he says that it could be a case of the person falling asleep. In the next breath he's saying this looks deliberate. I wish the mainstream media and the people that are reporting for the mainstream media would make up their minds. So let's have a listen to a Dr. David Lowe, a terrorism expert at Leeds Bucket University. If it is a deliberate act, then let's see what it... Sorry, I'm just a little bit bewildered by the blasé notion of let's see what is the motive behind it. In other words, trying to suggest that it could be anything. Honestly, it could be anything. Former Met Police Chief Inspector Peter Kirkham told Sky News it's inevitable it's going to be investigated as an attack in view of the location of the incident. Certainly, the initial assessment of the incident doesn't seem like a normal traffic accident. Eyewitness statements all seem to point toward it being a deliberate attack, and where the car ended up, That said, it doesn't look like the police have many concerns about the vehicle being a threat. There are many people milling about close to it. If police thought it was a viable device, as in a bomb, then the cordon would have been a lot wider than it is. It could be a deliberate attack, but for other reasons. A protest attack, for example. But initially, police will want to cross off the possibility of a terrorist attack. A protest attack? A protest attack to what? I'd be very interested in finding out the reasons behind this and seeing if they actually hide what's actually been said and what's actually going to be happening. I guarantee it to an extent that this will be Islamic related. I'm pretty sure of that. I can't confirm it, and I'm not going to confirm it, but I'm pretty sure. A very eerie backdrop there with the British flag and police around, cordons, police cars. Very, very shocking. I'm just so happy that people haven't lost their lives in this incident, in this terror attack. So Tom Paramenta, Sky's political correspondent, said, "The police response is very significant indeed. In the initial stages we saw sniffer dogs, yes, to see if there was a bomb around." So coming to the end of the actual story now. All the time we are getting officers arriving at the scene, some of them plain clothes, some of them in uniform, the cording is stretching significantly. The judgment of the emergency services is that their response is proportionate to the incident they are dealing with. Still don't know the motive for why that car drove at the barriers. But we can have a guess. We can have a guess, can't we, on that one? I think that's the actual problem, isn't it? The fact is that me and you would be able to make an educated guess, let's say, an educated guess, where we would probably look at this and we'd probably go, well, there hasn't too many other terrorist organisations that are operating in England that have a history of actually causing terrorist attacks or terrorist atrocities. So it would be a case of, well, if the shoe fits, wouldn't it? And I would agree with you on that point, and that's the reason why I say I think it's around 80 to 85% that this is probably Islamic related. But one cannot rule out until the actual process and the actual identity of what's going on and has happened is given to the public, if it ever is or ever will be. I'm not 100% sure what will go on. I'm pretty sure that they are going to have to tell us what's going on because people are going to be very interested in this. And as they should be. This is another terrorist attack that's happened in London at the Houses of Parliament in what, 2 years, a year and a half? That's absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous in a country that's like ours. It's supposed to be so multiculturalism, so multicultured, and yet we're still having so many people that are attacking the Houses of Parliament. I noticed that it's not a right-winger. I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, I cannot honestly say without a hand on my heart saying that it could be. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. But it could be. But it's funny that if you see and have a look at the ideologies, I'm almost guarantee that it is to do with a certain religious group. Or certain religious doctrine, should I say. A doctrine. Not necessarily the group itself. But it's funny that they always attack the Houses of Parliament because they want to de-seat our form of government. Why is it that they want to do that to our government, to force fear into the government? Is it to make sure that policies and concessions are made to certain groups and certain ideologies? Sorry about this, but just before I go, I would just like to point out the simple fact that at this moment in time, it has now been confirmed by the police and by BBC News and other news outlets that this has and is turned into a terrorist attack. If you look onto the page where it says top stories, you can now see that it says Westminster car crash treated as terror attack. So they've obviously found something out that is going on for whatever particular reason. So it is now definitely confirmed that this is and was a terrorist attack. Right, with that being said, I'm going to leave you all now. My wishes and prayers are with the people that have been injured in this. As I said before, luckily enough 2 reports at this moment in time. Nobody has died from this. Nobody seems to have life-threatening injuries either. It seems to be just, luckily, minor injuries and possibly some major injuries. Doesn't seem to be any life-threatening injuries. So that being said, thank you guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please share this video. Don't worry about liking the video. I'm not even bothered about that. But please share the video. Let people know what's going on. Even if they don't want to use social media, at least they have some form of way of finding out what's going on. Thank you guys, and I'll see you all again real soon. But bye for now.